Move over Uno and Monopoly Deal. There's a new card game in town. Today on the show, we have Shi Qi and Davin with us. They're the creators of But Honestly, the card game designed to facilitate honest conversations and invite vulnerability. It's like Truth or Dare, but with a little more truth, a little less dare, and a whole other level of secrets. Hi, I'm SueLyn.
And I'm Kessyl. Let's go. Shi Qi, Davin, welcome to the Recess podcast.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
We're so happy you agreed to do this. I'm so excited for some vulnerable conversations. Before I want to dive into any questions, how do you guys come up with this name, But Honestly? Like, what's the story idea behind this?
I wish I can tell you a very amazing story idea, right? But it's basically, we were just coming back and forth in our WhatsApp group, what should we call it? And I was like, but honestly, what about that? And we just thought it just really encompasses the heart behind the game. And it's very catchy and easy to remember. But also people always get it mixed up. They're like, be honest? Honest hours? Honest what? But it's a common phrase. People say it all the time.
Yeah. So your mission was to encourage vulnerable and open conversations. Why do you think a card game would be a good medium for this, for the Malaysians, the Malaysian culture?
Yeah, I think we like to play games, or we like to, it's a very fun and unintimidating way to start a conversation. It's a little pack that you can bring everywhere. So you want to play it in a cafe, you can bring it to play it with your friends. You want to go over to a friend's place, you can do that. So it's very unassuming and it's not scary. Sometimes when we talk about vulnerable conversations, we can get very terrified of that. So I think this is a very chill way to start that.
Yeah, I think empathy in the box is just But Honestly deck, right? So you can bring it everywhere, you can bring it back, and you can just pull it out and just play with your friends right on the spot. It's just really, really cool. And I think it's the best idea we can ever have to have a card game.
I love that. Big things come in small packages. So speaking of the big things that come in the small packages, how do you guys come up with the questions and the prompts? What is your creative process like?
Yeah, I believe that what we did was, we were looking at, how the successful ones did it, which was WNRS, We're Not Really Strangers, right? And then we have a few more others, right? So we took that idea and then we how did it become so successful, right? So for me as a researcher, I took it as the definition of empathy itself. What is empathy, right? So we took the definition, we made it into a tangible card game, and that's how we came up with But Honestly.
Yeah, and so the questions were, we just because we are all not based in the same place. So when we started this game, Davin was in Kuching, I was in KL. My co-founder, Sarah, she's in London. So we'll meet on Zoom every week and just test out questions. Do we like this question? We just play our team meetings. We just play the game, just making sure the questions are good or not. Yeah.
Yeah, I love card games like this. My first one was actually We're Not Really Strangers. It was a big thing and their marketing was amazing. And it actually helped me and my friends develop deeper connections and conversations. But to be honest, games like this, I find it hard to play with my family members. My little sister was like, hey, why not we play today with our parents and sister? I'm like, I'm not really ready for this conversations with my family. And as the creators of these games, what are some conversations you find it hard to talk about with your family?
I love it. Yeah, a lot.
It's you can do it with your friends, no, but my Asian family, I'm not sure.
My Asian parents are going to judge me.
I think number one, it's definitely SEX talk, right? It's so hard, to bring out to your parents. And number two, we have expectations, right? So Asian families, doctors, engineers, I'm just joking, it's just a stereotype of it, right?
Yeah,
so Asian parents, they're always pushing you to do something, expectations that you just don't really know. And the last, I think, would be mental health.
Yeah.
The sad part about it, yes. And it's very, very hard to open up to parents about that.
Yeah. But honestly, as the creators, so far, have you played it try it out with your family members or maybe siblings, perhaps?
So I've tried to play a bit with my parents. I'm not gonna lie, it was really weird. Some of the questions even my parents are hesitant to share with me, because I think my parents, they want to have a very parental image. Yep. So they have it all together. They don't want to share their weaknesses, or when they used to do all these bad stuff. They don't want me to know that part of their lives. But it has been very refreshing just to like know them in a deeper level. And also, we do intend to create a family deck. So questions that are very intentional for families to answer. I think it's something that we really need in Asian culture. And I think that would really help start the conversation because it's meant to be played with your family and your parents.
Yeah, I played with my dad, and it turned out to be a teaching moment at the end. So I not really.
So that's why you have to create the parental deck.
Yes, that's why we're creating a parents deck. Yes, it became a teaching moment. Okay. Not good at all. Yeah.
Tried and tested. You have to have like different editions, like for couples and best friends and families. We want to be open about secrets, but we also need to be careful about who knows which secrets.
Correct.
Yes.
You're right.
Okay, so that sounds like a challenge, and you guys have been very successful. Your Kickstarter campaign has more than double its goals. What is the biggest challenge you faced at this point, like up to this point?
Logistics.
Just logistics.
I think that's that. Yeah.
Plus, large not good enough, is it?
No, it's just so hard. I think one of the things that one of the questions that we got was like, why is it so expensive for shipping? Yeah. Right, and it's so tough for us to like answer that question, right? So it's like, going somewhere, you need 20 pounds, and some of them say, oh, it's more expensive than the bag. Like, it's not really something that we can have a control of it over as well. Then I think one of the other challenges would be like, packaging, stickers, putting it all together. Yeah.
This is all like very new to us. We've never done this before. We're not in the card game industry or anything. And also because we ship worldwide, that's why shipping is so expensive. But yeah, printing the card game, making sure it's looking good. Like, okay, this example, this is our failed prototype. And there's this random blue line here, right? Just not what we wanted. And so we've printed so many failed prototypes and so many failed boxes. So that has been a challenge. We want to create something that's like good quality. But how do we do that without spending, beyond our budget? Yeah.
Wait, I have one question here. So what do you guys do like as your real full-time job? This is like a fun little project that is very successful, but what's your day-to-day job?
Yeah. We're both teachers, actually. Yeah, and we both teach in the same school, but that's not how we met. Yeah. So we both teach secondary school.
Are you going to play this with your students as well?
Yeah, actually I have. So when I was creating the product, I was testing it with my students, in class. Like I would just come up with, one question and start a conversation. And it's very surprising the things they tell me. Like kids also struggle with mental health. Kids also have a lot of issues that we kind of think like, you're so young, you don't have these kind of struggles. So it was a good way for me to bridge the gap between me and them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I tried one as well. I took what is the expectations of family members, that one. Yeah, so I play with my friends and the students. I call them my friends, so it's a bit weird for me. So,
what a good teacher.
and really, it's really resonate with what she said, right? So they have things that just unspoken, right? So much hurt down there, and then I was opening a Padlet and just writing things down. I'm like, whoa, I just want to hug you, man. Like this is so hard. Yeah.
I think you guys are easily the favorite teachers of your school at this point. Like, okay, these teachers bring in card games and let us talk about mental health. I think I like them. I don't know lah. Okay, so I know that inhibitions are kind of a thing. You want to kind of protect your own secrets, watch out for your image and things like that. So I feel like this kind of game that encourages vulnerability and the spilling of secrets, it's kind of like, I don't know, to me, I feel like it's a game that's best played when you're a little bit tipsy, when your inhibitions are kind of like, halfway out the door. What do you think? Is this a game that's designed for like drunk parties or something like that?
I think this game is designed for all occasions, whether you're sober or drunk, you want to play in the AM or in the PM, it's designed for that. And I think it's very intentional in creating that safe space and that place for honest conversations without needing like an external factor. And so I think what I really want to replicate is that like 2 a.m. conversations. I want to be able to replicate that in the afternoon, in the mornings, and I've learned that vulnerability happens when someone is willing to talk. You don't really need that right atmosphere. It's like in our minds, we can only talk about it at night when we are like half asleep, like almost want to sleep, and then we can share. But I want to be able to encourage this kind of culture anytime, anywhere.
I love that. Yeah. So what she said about bringing 2 a.m. conversations to the afternoon, it exactly represents alcohol. Because I really feel that alcohol is not something, it's not an excuse right? To share a hard story. It is like, getting into a fight and be like, oh, I'm blaming it on the alcohol, right? It doesn't make sense at all. And I believe that for personally, I'm a psychologist. I have a psychology major, so I actually had this recent study on on alcohol, where they really found out that alcohol is just, your moral values are still the same. You're still the same person with or without alcohol. And I truly believe that, like, without alcohol, meaningful conversations is just so good with, but honestly, so better played when your mind is clear. Yeah.
So
That's very vintage. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, if you want to play it drunk, feel free.
Yes. It might be more fun. It depends.
no limitations. What have you guys learned? I mean, what is one thing you have learned about yourself throughout the creation of this project?
Oh, I love this.
That's a good question. You should give the question for the card game, man. That's a good one.
The 2.0, you can hire Kessyl to help you grab the questions.
I think for me, it was a very reflective experience. I thought I was vulnerable and I was creating a product about vulnerability, but I realized I wasn't.
Wow.
It was very hard for me because I felt so hypocritical at one point, a lot of things I wanted to talk about. When I was testing this product with my friends and my family, it was so hard for me myself to share because I wanted to protect my image. I don't want to seem weak or seem too bad, or I don't want to show that side of myself. So it really challenged myself to get out of the comfort zone to talk about these kind of things. Yeah,
I think for me would be I'm also always been a person that shares and overshares. I feel like, I've been oversharing, but what if what if you can create a card game? What if through this process I'd be like, the right questions to ask and the right things to say. You don't overspill everything, right? And I truly believe that this is such a good opportunity for myself even to think about what to share, right? And especially when the prompts come out, I'd be like, wow, this is something that I can share, right? So it really helps to reflect. Yeah.
Kessyl, I know you didn't ask me, but I feel like adding on my personal one. So I'm always this person that's basically an open book. I always tell my friends, I wear my heart on my sleeve. You can basically read and understand me. So I'm actually very interested to see whether I truly am a vulnerable person, which segues into my interesting part. We are going to actually try to play But Honestly with a little bit of a rule change. So here we go. But Honestly, Recess Edition. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun. Okay.
So I already picked out a few questions.
Okay.
Because there are some that you have to pay physically. So I picked out mostly questions from our deck. So the first one, so we have 3 levels. Let me just explain very quickly. 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. And as it goes higher, then it gets more deeper and more questions are more, require more vulnerability. All right. So I think we can all answer, since it's usually you pick the card and then you answer, but we can all answer the same question.
Okay.
First one. Have your parents ever tried to give you a sex talk? How did it go?
I think SueLyn can go first.
Me? Okay. I was about to say ladies first, but there's only one guy here, so we should let the guy go first. But sure, I'll go first. No, my parents have never actually tried. Actually, I know. Now I think of it, my mom did try to give me the sex talk by giving me a book on pregnancy and birth. And
that's very indirect.
Yeah, I was very young.
Very
I think I was scared of it. But then after that, I think halfway through she decided this wasn't a good idea. So none of my parents talked to me about sex. But then I'm always a person that believes in education. So I ended up, I think it was Form 3, Form 4. I learned about sex on my own on Google and things like that. So then by the time we were in late high school, I was the sex consultant in my class, to the point that I'm not even joking, anyone in my high school will remember this. For my high school oral, my topic for half an hour, by the way, my English oral examination was why students should be allowed to have sex.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh my god!
And that's still one of my proudest achievements.
Give you a clap for this, right?
Real. Wow.
Okay,
it's so cool that you took it into your own hands and
Oh yes, very much so. It's still one of my crowning achievements. I think my parents know that I know a lot about sex, but they just don't want to think about it, and I don't mention it.
Yeah.
Okay, Kessyl, how about you? Sex.
I think for me, no, me and my parents, we are really close, and they are like those pretty open-minded Asian parents that you can do whatever you want. You don't have to become a doctor or a lawyer as long as you do something that makes you happy. But we never actually had this conversation before. And I think I had this conversation with my sisters only recently, like I'm 26 now, and we only start to talk about it. So yeah, my family, no, we don't talk about it with my parents.
Yeah. For me too. I've never had the sex talk, but my dad has sat me and my brothers down and talk about porn and how that's not good. Like, don't watch porn.
Okay,
So that was kind of like a glimpse of it. But it was super awkward. I was there. I was like, what the heck? At the time, I really don't know what porn is because I was really young. I was like, I know what it was, but I never watched. So I was like, how are you talking to me about this? It's super weird. It was so uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, all of you said no, and some of you said yes. For mine, it's occasionally, right? Vin, come, sit down, and then you just start talking about you get our brothers. I have two brothers, older brothers, and then he always said that Davin, you're gonna be the first one to get married. I don't know why, but he always says that, right? So he kept it's always a teaching moment from him, right? I'm grateful for him, right? Definitely, but he's always it's always teaching, right? If teaching goes on and on, you feel like it's nagging, right? So occasionally we do talk about it, right? He says don't get into trouble. You don't, those things. Just teach and teach and teach. And
did he teach you about protection then? Like wear a condom?
No. It's always on the moral principles and stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. Let's try question number 2.
All right. What is the best compliment you've ever received?
Okay.
I feel like this is really playing with 4 strangers. This is wow. Right.
Let's get to know each
you have
other.
To talk
really,
about yourself.
Really well.
You have to talk about sex.
Okay, let's go the other way. Davin, you go first.
Yeah. I would say just yesterday. I was actually going to church. I went to church yesterday, and one of these pastors, he's one of the singers up there, and he came in, and we were just chatting outside, right? And he gave me a nudge and he's like, Davin, you look good today. I'm like, whoa. You, me, So I would say yesterday, yes, it was the best. I was smiling all the way. I was actually thinking of it when I was driving back home too. So I was very, very happy. Yes, that's my best compliment.
So cute. Yeah, I witnessed it. I was there, and he was laughing, he was beaming. His face changed completely. He was so happy. So funny. I think for me, I always share the same story, but when I was younger, I used to be a part of this youth group, and so I would help out a lot in this youth group. And there was some people visiting, and I was we went to a coffee town after we were just chilling, and I was because we were sharing food, so I would serve everyone the food, and then one of the visitors was like, "Oh, you have such a servant heart." And such a rare, no one ever really says something like that. So it really struck me. And it meant a lot to me because I was like, oh, someone was acknowledging how I served others.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I think for me, it's when people they would often bring up the same thing, and they would say that it's so awkward, just talking about something good about myself on the podcast. But they say I'm a good connector, because I love socializing with people and connecting my friends together, friend A and friend D. They have no interest in common, but I just like to bring everyone together and have a dinner party at home. And I love that, just connecting people and seeing conversations and relationships birth forth. And I think, that's one of the best compliments ever, because I love friends and I love connecting with people. That's what gives me life. So when I can bring the same thing to the other people, it really makes me happy. Yeah.
That's so good.
For me, I think it's organizing. So my best compliment is when people say that I'm good at planning things, whether it's events or stuff like that. So I think it's really interesting how we all have very different answers. Okay, so last round of questions. Let's just dive into the deep end and do the ones from the most difficult deck. Just one set of questions for all of us, and then the time constraints, unfortunately. And also we want to keep people on the hook too, so they get the deck for themselves to try out. All right, let's do it.
All right, so this is a level 3 question. When was a time you felt you were not good enough?
On second thought, can we go back to the level one? That question?
That's so good. All the time. What are we talking about? Imposter syndrome. Actually, yeah, I think like imposter syndrome is something I want to talk about. Does anyone feel that all the time? Like I just went out with my friends and they all feel the same thing. And I feel like you're such a good artist. You're such a good, I don't know, corporate person. But why do you feel like you don't deserve this? And I feel, yeah, imposter syndrome, it sucks.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Especially for like young people in the workforce, I think, because they're so new.
Yeah, exactly. But I kind of feel like a lot of the times my friends who have imposter syndrome are those that I can really see that they are very, very capable. And those friends who think they're really good and don't have imposter syndrome, those are the people I'm like, really a reality check. But that's just me. Okay, a time when I felt I wasn't good enough. I think the latest one was probably bar school, where I legit thought I was gonna fail, and like everyone around me is like super amazing and accomplished. I'm like, oh my god, I think I'm gonna fail bar school. I'm not gonna be a lawyer, and I don't know. So that was probably the worst mental place. Yeah, Kes?
Wow, this is so real. I think maybe we just talk something about the podcast because we launched this podcast, I think, a few months ago, and we were like, oh, we're not sure if the Malaysians are ready. What are we going to talk about? Do anyone cares about our opinions? If we introduce people, do people even want to listen to a 20-minute podcast? And I think it's just like all this, like, am I the person fit to carry these conversations? And I just feel like, yeah, sometimes I would have thoughts like this, but the more we do it, the more we share these stories. And I love that we get to connect. For example, like today, we connect so well. And to share your story, I think, it makes it go away and makes it feel worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, the podcast is so great. Like, I was like looking at it, and like I think you guys are doing such a killer job, and really just like starting conversations that we need to hear, especially entrepreneurs. Like, it's very helpful. So thank you for doing it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes.
So
wait, so what about your times?
Yeah.
Why are you skipping it?
Don't think you're turning
thank you.
away
They're trying to
from
like
this.
dodge
Yeah,
it.
like, thank you. Let's end the podcast. Like, no, okay. We are catching you here.
I'll go first. So mine is it's very, very real on the teaching role and what you guys are talking about workplace, right? I'm actually just 2 months into my teaching job. So literally every morning I wake up and I was really trying to get myself grounded again. Like, who are you? You are a good teacher, right? And just you have to say that, affirm myself over and over again, because I feel like I feel like that I could have done more, or I could have imparted more. I could have seen them grow in this certain way. And to be really honest, it hurts me a lot. But I'm definitely growing. Yes, it's just 2 months, so it's not a year. So yeah, definitely growing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think teachers have the impact that they impart to their students really is incomparable to their salary. I don't know, because I was just watching a video from my professor this morning. He was saying like how it changed their life, and then now their students are parents, and just doing all this job. And I just feel like teachers have such a great impact, and just know that what you're doing, it's so amazing. And sometimes you just have to wake up and look yourself in the mirror. You're a good teacher. You're enough. You just have to say these affirmations to yourself to keep it going, and there's no shame in that. Just keep on going.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was so sweet. I think, to wrap it up, I think when I was in uni, because before I went to uni in high school, I was very like a extra overachiever. I always did well in school. I was in all these co-curricular activities. And then when I was in uni, I was like a small fish in a big pond, and I couldn't accept it. I wasn't used to not having all these like accomplishments or not doing as well as I used to. And so I really doubted my self-worth. I was like, who am I if I don't have all these accomplishments? And then I had to learn, it took many years, took like 3-4 years to realize that doesn't define me. And so it was a pretty dark moment of my life. But I mean, you grow from it, you learn from it. Yeah.
I love how we can like literally see all of us opening up, and we're like getting more and more comfortable progressively throughout the podcast. And I am sure it has been accelerated by the But Honestly cards. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. It was really amazing listening to what you guys have to say. And thank you for sharing your stories and secrets as well.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good conversations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And if you listener are interested in getting the cards, then please do follow them on their social medias, and they will have their website launching next year. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Take care of your mental health. Have honest conversations with the people around you. Spread the loves and spread the joy. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.